So now, the last 15 years, I've been in at the company, and the last 5 years, I have this assignment at Green Cargo. And Green Cargo, perhaps some of you heard about it. It's Sweden's largest freight train operator. So I'm going to give you a bit of background. Do you see the map? This is one train day at Green Cargo, and that day we operated over 380 trains with over 3,000 wagons and transported 140,000 tons of goods over a total distance of 154,000 kilometers. And I think that's more than a lap around the world, actually. In order to keep track of all the trains, the locomotives, the drivers, the customer, the goods, we have an array of lots of systems. We have a CRM system that keeps track of the customers, and we have an order system. We have a wagon production system, we call it. We address wagon to an order, and we assign that wagon to a train on a specific location, bound to a specific destination. So this is our reality, and many of those systems are creating data, loads of data, and it's more like silos often. So we are handling wagon data, train data, locomotive, but also geometry and tracks and locations, because the customer pays us for transporting X amount of goods to a specific location. So they pay us for how much ton we transport and how far we transport it. And besides that, in the runtime mode, we have a lot of data streaming into our systems that shows if a train is not fulfilling the timetable, if we are late or we are early or anything. So it's a lot of data. And I got this assignment as a solution architect at Green Cargo. They wanted to analyze punctuality and the causes. Every punctuality, every disruption and deviation has a cause, and they wanted me to analyze the cause. But the cause is not that easy to analyze because it has a lot of dependency. So this was for 3 years ago, and I didn't know anything about graph databases. So I started out, as many of us would do, with the relational databases and try to consolidate data, and it didn't work out. And then I heard about graph databases, and this was like an old school graph databases. Have anybody heard about Gremlin API? You say, Håkan. It's a really hard language. And one key thing with graph databases is to traverse a tree. But in Gremlin, you could only traverse 32 steps. And if we traverse the infrastructure in Sweden, we can go from Falun, where I live, to Uppsala. And we run trains all over Europe, so it wasn't sufficient. So we had to reconsider our choices. But first, a bit of our problem, because it's not only trains, wagons, it's the connection between trains. And this, I think I have this pointer here. This could be, I don't see the pointer. I do what I told not to do. I point. Here is Padborg in Denmark. Let's say we have a train that departs from Padborg to Malmö. No, Malmö, I guess one. And from Malmö, the wagons is unloaded and loaded to a new train that departs from Malmö to Hallsberg. And some wagons are shifted to a new train that is transported to the harbor in Gothenburg. And some other wagons is shunted in another train that takes the wagons to Borlänge. And there they will be transported with a new train from Borlänge to Gävle. And the wagons are splitted to new trains. One train to Sundsvall and one train to Ånge. This is a fictional example, but that's our everyday life. And this is a really simple example. So what if we have a deviation here, a disruption? It could be a malfunction in a railway switch, or a locomotive that is broken, that blocks the way, or anything. That means that the wagons can't get to Malmö in time. And we have timetables to follow. So perhaps those wagons won't get to the departing train from Malmö. And that causes, as you can understand, an impact on the whole network. Not only wagons, we have the locomotive. When it arrives to Malmö, it will have new assignments. And the driver has new assignments. And we have drivers and locomotives that is waiting for this train. So, as you can see, a deviation and disruptions are spread in a terrible way in our business. So we started to think about how should we address this problem? How can we predict disruptions and start disruption management before it spreads. So we started the Green Cargo Digital Twin. It's like a digital representation of our everyday business. It's not an application. We build applications on the database. So I consider it more like a operational data layer. So we evaluated a lot of graph databases, and this is our why we picked Neo4j. I was at a graph summit 3 years ago in Stockholm. And that was the first time I get in contact with Neo4j. And I saw that it was a really cool database. So we started to build a model. And this is actually a real model, almost. It's a bit simplified. Let's see if I can point on this screen. Doesn't work. Did you see anything? You did, but I didn't see anything. Okay. Oh, there we have it. Okay. You see, what do you call it, Håkan? Labeled property graphs. As you see, we model almost our entire business in 10, 12, 15 labels. We have some more labels. This is a simplified model, but it's not that much. This complex business is modeled into quite few labels or nodes. And I'm going to tell you a little bit how we build up this model. And it's like playing a game. We start with the infrastructure, because without the infrastructure, we can't run any trains. We must have locations, we must have tracks. So we start with the infrastructure, and we do iterative import from different various databases from Europe, from the Swedish Transport Administration, Trafikverket. We take GIS data from shape files and convert it to GeoJSON, and then import it into to the graph database. And one cool thing is that every location is connected with its nearest neighbor. And that means when we import the entire database over stations in Europe, we connect every stations with their nearest neighbor. That means that we have a giant network of locations. So we can actually virtually run a train from Haparanda in the northern part of Sweden down to Barcelona. And every node has also properties. You see one property here. It's the signature for all stations, but we have this European ID for all stations. We have a geographic point, so we can put it on a map. We have some other properties that is good to know. And the sections gives us distance between two stations. It gives us what kind of electrification, because some locomotives require some kind of specific electrification, and some stations doesn't have any electrifications between them, and then we must have a locomotive that runs on diesel. So when the infrastructure layer is done, then we can start to run train. And this is a really, really simple model. We have a train, like train number 1, 2, 3, and that train has like instances. A train with a train number can only run maximum once a day. So we call it train day. I call it train day. So the train day is like an instance of a train. And a train day has a timetable, a departure station, and intermediate stations, and arrival stations. And that timetable gives us a picture of how this train will run and what time it should arrive to every single locations between departure and arrival. So that makes us when it's in the runtime. Here you see the properties for a train stop, the timetable stop. In this case, we have train 8909, I think, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 train stops, and every train stop is connected to a physical location. So, and when we are running this train, we are streaming in operational data like position. We get it from the locomotive GPS. We also receive timetable data, real-time timetable data from the Transport Administration that shows us if we are, see, here's the planned time, but we also get the actual time. And that gives us a heads up if we are late or early. And if we are really late, we also get a prognosis from the Transport Administration. And then we can see really early, when the train departs from Malmö, we can see if the train will be late in Hallsberg and how that will affect the shunting in Hallsberg. So it's really cool. So now we have the infrastructure, we have the trains, and let's put on some, I can't call it local data, it's a bad word perhaps, but it's data that is produced by us. Every other data is actually produced by the Transport Administration and other public data sources. All locomotive assignments are produced by Green Cargo. All the wagon assignments and driver assignments. And I brought, if we were a passenger train, we would also have passengers. And what is connecting two trains with each other is the exchange of locomotive, driver, and wagon. And if we were a passenger train company, it would be passengers also. So we connect that with legs. Let me show you the first picture here. You see, the leg is connecting one train with another train. And this is how it will be connected. So that's why when we click on one train in the graph, we can expand a giant tree of related trains afterwards and even before. Sorry. This is this is how we could visualize in the graph database. It's quite cool to work with the Neo4j because it's really what did you say, Håkan? Low cognitive. It's really easy to understand the data because it is visualized if you want to. So the purple one here is legs, I guess. Yes, it is. But we call it, in Green Cargo, we call it journey sections. We must be compliant to European train data. So what are we using? I told you a bit about disruption management, and we are currently working on track and trace. The first one here, the monitoring and tracking. The graph has all positions of a train, and if we know a position of a train, we know what wagons are in it, and we know what customers that he owns the wagon or the cargo that is loaded on the wagon. So a customer can log in and see exactly the position of their cargo. And manage disruptions, as I told you. We can see a deviation really early and work with it to reduce the damage. And it's also good for planning routes, because sometimes when a locomotive is blocking the way, we must reroute the train. And that's a really difficult operation because the train could be too heavy for different routes, but the graph contains all the conditions to fulfill a route compatible rerouting. It's really, really good to analyze because this is actually the digital twin. We don't have the current situation. We also have historical data. So we can measure how many wagons did we load. We have like an agreement with the transport administration. Let's say one train we can have 600 meters of wagon, but we only had 300 meters. And that's bad because it's 50% free space in that train. So we can analyze that data and optimize routes with that data. As I told you before, we can control, we can manage pricing and how cost management, because when a train is late, it affects us in many different ways. We must pay a fine to the transport administration. We have angry customers, and we can calculate costs. And one important thing is actually managing the pricing strategies, because as I told you, if a customer transporting 2,000 tons in a train for 100 kilometers, that is one price. And if they go 200 kilometers, it's the double price. So it's really easy to get a grip on how we should, how the customer should pay for the transport. And this is interesting. We are at AI Sweden now. The data have really, really high quality because it's not only, the entities are not only high quality, it's connected. It's all data is interconnected. And that makes it really easy to we are developing a prototype, an agentic AI. I started with a chat completions API, but then this was obsolete. So I started with the assistant API, and then assistant API was obsolete. And I started with the response API, and then MCP came, and then A2A came. So it's quite hard to keep track of all this. Currently we are developing an MCP server for Neo4j. I can show it later if you want. So it's really cool. And one thing that is cool, you can consider a graph as a triplet. If you get a match on a location, let's say we query the graph for a location with GenAI. It's really easy for the LLM to find out the related nearby nodes. Like a station have arrivals and departures. We also have disruptions, because we got messages from transport administration as soon as anything occurs on the network, we get the message, like malfunction in a railway switch. We know that instantly, and we can reroute trains. So it's really easy to generate cipher. Many RAG applications is about extracting unstructured data from documents and stuff. We already have structured data, so we import the data and we are generating cipher. So that's our way path. So that was a bit of the practical how we build up a graph database at Green Cargo. Hope you enjoyed it. Fantastic.